Hi, everybody. Earth Discernment here again. Hey, I saw this today, news clip. Big news, the Orlando Sentinel had a story about sonic boom rattles Central Florida. Secret military space shuttle lands at Kennedy Space Center. So, I thought about that. I'm like, what? A secret military space shuttle? As if anything's not strange enough when it comes to going to space. But the long story short is, if you don't know, much about it, it's a secret military unmanned mini space shuttle, which has been orbiting the Earth since it was launched in Florida, from Florida in May 2015. So it's been up there, what amounts to 600 plus days, and this shuttle here is 29 feet long, 9 feet high. It's got a weight launch is up to 11,000 pounds. Okay, great. Now, I should point out some things there too. 29 feet long. I mean, you take out the propulsion and some of the, controls and how much space is actually in this shuttle. And what could you accomplish with 20 feet long bay that requires you being in space for that long? Now, it being military, there's contention. I read a lot of articles about this. I went down a little rabbit hole, which I'll show you some of the research I've done. Kept some of the links, and what's the deal with this? So I moved on to kind of say, hey, if you look at over time, some of the articles that have come out. Is it going to land? Where is it? It's mysterious, secretive, all those words, right? So that's great. But I want to look at what it was doing. So I found this article where it says things that are supposedly being tested, technologies, right? This is what they are saying, of course, that they can inform the public of, being it's a military aircraft. Yeah, navigation and control, thermal protection systems, high temperature structures and seals, conformal reusable insulation, lightweight electromechanical flight systems, autonomous orbital flight, reentry and landing. All sounds great. Then I was looking at what path it would be on. So as you can see, I don't know, just came across this tracker. Space.com has it, but it's actually powered by NY2O, N2YO, where you can track the Space Shuttle Station, Hubble Space Telescope, those kind of things. So I'm going to click on the X37B. Let me page down here so you can see that this is live stats on it. Okay. Now, I know you know that this had landed, but wanted to show you here is here we go with as far as the altitude goes, 352 kilometers, latitude, longitude, and it's been going like this since it landed pretty much all day. I was actually just going to give it time, frankly, but it's still been running. Again, to me, it just shows that if you're going to track this, and people want to say that these satellite trackers are accurate, this just shows it's a sham right here. The development of the X37B and its derivatives incrementally retires risk as capabilities increase. So you can see here is the planned we need money track, right? So yeah, we've got this. We're going to go ahead and go up here, and eventually they're going to put 5 to 7 astronauts in it. But here is what, of course, they sold the public on. Actually, kind of cool. You see the video, hey, really, this really wows everybody. Cool, it drops off there. That's great. It's just very interesting that this is what people will get suckered into because, the thing obviously does fly, which is great. There's just some oddities with it. For one, I'm going to rewind it here a little bit. There is actually on the back of this, if you can see it, there's no engine sticking out, okay? It's really important because therein lies my next question. When would that come out? When is it going to pop out all of a sudden here? Because looking here, I've determined, hey, what does it use? It uses something called a Hall thruster, which uses an electric field to accelerate xenon propellant, introducing a small but steady thrust that's useful for many types of aircraft, including military communications and so on. Then I had to really go down the rabbit hole on these too. So I looked at why do ion engines need a vacuum to work? What are these? So it says ion propulsion engines work because you can make a plasma in the chamber. This means that electricity has to flow through the chamber. Air is an insulator, which means that it keeps electricity flowing. Ion propulsion can, so I could go on and read this, but in the end, it comes down to why do, I was searching for, would this work in space? We've seen all those articles about rockets in space not working, that it wouldn't work because there's nothing to push off of, right? So again, this being different, if they could create the plasma in a vacuum, that's great. It's just impossible to find proof of that, right? So they can say this all they want on what these Hall effect thrusters are. And, you know, actually it looks pretty cool, pretty interesting. That's great and everything. Hall thrusters based on this technology is pretty interesting. You know, if it did work, right? I was actually buying into this. I remember when I first heard it thinking, you know, it's going to have to be a different type of propulsion in space rather than shooting something out, your average propellant, you know, burning combustible gases, combining, whatever it might be, thrusting, pushing off. There's nothing that is pushing off of, right? So, you know, I looked into how it works, and I was looking into why, you know, if it doesn't push against anything, what are the answers given, right? So, of course, this is just this forum here, but the end result, when it boiled down to it, the rocket does not push against the atmospheric air, but again, the exhaust gases pushes the rocket forward due to conservation of momentum. So, again, that's another Newton principle. I started looking at it. Again, it's the same thing that they're talking about. The same argument they use for talking about for regular standard rockets is what this is referring to. That it's just it's expelling out the back, they repel each other, and it's going to move forward. I had gone down the rabbit hole as far as do these work. So look, it says, this space engine breaks the law of physics, but NASA test says that it will. Impossible engine, you know, the impossible no-fuel quantum space engine, they're testing, right? Very interesting what I started seeing about this particular type of thrust that this X37B supposedly has. You know, look at this. I mean, this is National Geographic. You know, the NASA team claims impossible space engine works. Get the facts. And all the facts in the world are the same thing you hear mirrored everywhere else. I thought it was kind of funny. Elon Musk thinks 1 million people could live on Mars by the 2060. You know, it's funny to see him pop up throughout all of these, you know, through all this research, just to see that SpaceX, of course, is going to be testing their version of this engine and so on. Just another debacle in my impression. When you see article after article that it breaks the law of physics and so on, but NASA says that it works, and you see this over and over. I've been searching to no end for a working version that I would believe that's definitive, video of EM thruster operating in a vacuum. Everything you need to know. There's no videos, images. I tried searching every way. Came across a test of a small piece of a tinfoil being blown around, of all things, right, in a tube, which would seem at first look to be convincing. I was going to actually show it here, and then I thought, well, there's no way to prove that it's a vacuum, and it wasn't even from these official sources showing that. So no one from NASA, there's just never been proof of it working or anything like that. So again, this is about discerning. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt on discerning the truth of what could be possible. Okay, so you know, the fact that you could move when the atmosphere runs out, that there is no air up there. Okay, then how could you move in that environment? So, of course, I'm going to look into it, science-based mind. I'm not discounting anything. But, you know, I see things like, despite the, you know, this Scheuer guy is one of the big guys as far as this engine goes. That's the only way I can word it, okay? But I was reading quite a bit here where they talk about you know, the Newtonian physics offer an explanation where it's kind of trying to defend this engine. So I just want to show you here where he says Scheuer has gone on record by saying that the new drive produced warp bubbles which allow the drive to move, claiming this is how NASA's test results were likely achieved. You know, so these are people actually trying to explain it away. I mean, rather than saying, I think it's a hoax, I think a lot of these things you're saying would drive you to want to look into this more too, but also to know that everything I see in regards to this is pretty ridiculous. That this will be a continued way for them to get funds. And I just wanted to vent about it, but it was worth knowing that this had landed, this happened, that I find it strange. And again, in the search for the truth, we get back lies and more budget money needed for these types of flights. So that being said, you know, have a good one until the next one.